I'm John Pelletro. I'm the construction engineering manager with Battaglia Mechanical Electrical Fabrication. I've been working here for about 11 years now.
Does your general clients that you work with know prefab means?
I don't think so. So a lot of people, they hear the word prefab and they have an image of their head. Everybody's got something slightly different that they picture when you say the word prefab. But it typically doesn't capture everything that we're doing, everything that we're trying to accomplish. Because basically it's all about the process. The process, much more so than the parts and pieces of what we're assembling, is what prefab is. An overview of what we're trying to do. Battaglia Industries gets awarded a job. The first place it comes is through this office. We start tearing it apart piece by piece and collecting information. Current sets of drawings, specifications, all of the different information that needs to be collected together. Basically, we're translating, moving out of the bidding phase where a certain amount of information was put together for the estimate that serves the purpose of the estimate. Now we have to translate that information into construction. So we start identifying any conflicts, any missing information, any details that we need to get our arms around before construction starts so that we can give our project management team and our foremen who are going to be running that project a big head start. Anything that we can get ahead of is what we're looking for. A lot of people think of when they think prefab is take a fixture apart, we put a whip on it and send it on its way, which is true. But that is one small piece of what we're doing. A pretty common approach in construction is to just look at what's ready for us and tackle those things as they come. The problem is that is a very difficult strategy to manage and a very difficult strategy to control. So what we are trying to do is create a strategy that is the most efficient way to get the job done, rather than just strapping a sail on the boat and letting the wind blow us wherever the project goes. We try and take control of the situation and manage that schedule and then work together with the customer to map out what is going to be the most efficient way to get this job done, because the more efficient we are, the more efficient our process is in getting the job done, the more efficient the whole project is going to be, which is good for the overall construction schedule in general. The better we are able to plan and strategize and identify the order that we want to tackle things in, the methods that we want to use, the direction that we want to take on the project, we can feed that information to our customers, and then they can use that information to manage their schedules much more efficiently. They can start to get a lot more dialed in on where they can save time, where they can arrange things to make the whole project run smoothly for everybody. That's the biggest advantage that we can provide to the customer is if we can take a task that would normally take us 2 weeks of schedule time before you can bring the next trade in. Say it's the drywallers. Say we're the last ones coming through. We've got to get all of our work done before you can bring your drywallers in. That's the next milestone that needs to be hit before that project can move forward. If we can do 50% of that work here before the walls are even framed, then we took that 2 weeks of schedule time and reduced it down to 1 week of schedule time. We didn't reduce the amount of work that had to be done. We just divided it into a location and into components that could be done before the area was ready in order to reduce the total schedule time. That is one of the highest priorities, is reducing the amount of schedule time, because it's better for everybody. Construction naturally comes with all kinds of different delays. Anything that we can do to minimize that schedule time is going to help make up for a lot of those unpredictable things that come up.
My guess too, correct me if I'm wrong, is that you have some proprietary stuff that also makes you guys different and better than other people.
Secret sauce.
Yeah. So can you speak to that without revealing?
That's classified.
Even if I allow you to kill me after you tell me?
Oh, that's fine. Without getting into specifics, we have invested a lot of time and energy into building systems and processes to enhance communication, to increase the speed at which we're able to get the things done. A lot of the things that we're doing in here, they come from years of challenges that we've had to deal with doing construction the conventional way. There are natural challenges that come up on every single job site that are just part of construction. That has always been our first approach, is to look at those things with a fresh slate and say, here's a problem that is a problem on every job, right? What kind of solution can we come up with to eliminate that problem entirely? And if it's not possible to eliminate it entirely, what can we do to make it easier to manage? we have found over the years a lot of different tools and systems and technologies that we can implement to address a lot of those common problems and things that we're dealing with all the time. Because if we're able to smooth out a lot of those bumps that are part of any construction job, then it gives us more ammunition to be able to take on the even more complex and tougher challenges, because we're not getting bogged down with a lot of the stuff that's just part of construction. So that's a little bit of the secret sauce without telling you what the secret sauce is.
Yeah.
Prefab in general is all about the process. From the time we get awarded the job, we start breaking down the pieces, collecting as much information as we can, finding any conflicts, anything that we can identify as something that's going to be a challenge. We need to take a closer look at something that is going to need further information that we need to start reaching out to, whether it's vendors, customer. A simple example is mounting heights. So like sometimes we'll be putting together some assemblies that are going to be part of a rough installation in some walls, and we need to know what height to mount them at. Plenty of times that information's on the drawing, but sometimes there will be a situation where that information either isn't clear or it's not on the drawing because X, Y, and Z, for whatever reason it didn't end up on there. That's something that we can identify right away from the first day that we start looking at it. Whereas conventionally, there's a lot of times where it might not even be realized that that information is missing until the guys are standing there ready to start installing it. And they've got all their material, they've got everything on site, they're ready to go, and they're standing in front of their wall, and they're like, okay, what height do I mount it at? And then that turns into, we need to get 5 or 6 other people involved in some situations because maybe there's a designer who specified a certain thing, or maybe there's an architect, or maybe the owner, or there's any number of people who could have input on that simple thing, mounting height, where that's a showstopper. Because a lot of times the schedule has already been delayed before we even get there, and now we're showing up to start installing, and they have an inspection scheduled. This stuff needs to be installed when it needs to be installed. We don't have time to stop and try and get a hold of 3 people to confirm an answer on something. There's a dozen other examples like that, but that's just a simple one that everybody, I'm sure, has run into. And then there's just general conflicts where sometimes the electrical plans might be drawn a certain way, the mechanical plans might be drawn a certain way, and then the structural plans might have changed, and the electrical or mechanical drawings don't reflect those changes that happened. As we're going through and we're pulling out all those parts and pieces and looking for those conflicts, sending out RFIs, collecting specifications, and getting all that, we start to get a good understanding of that job. And that's where we start to pull together all of the years of experience that we have in the company, and we start to develop a plan. All of the management that's involved in a construction project, their job is essentially to try and deal with all that unpredictability and try and funnel it all into something that's predictable. As the plan is coming together, we are building a strategy that we can make very predictable. We can take large portions of that labor and, again, make it very predictable. We can start to put them together here in a controlled environment. We're not worried about the weather. We're not worried about what other trades are in the area. We're not worried about space constraints. We're not worried about any of those typical things which come into play when you are trying to make the same strategy on a job site. We're able to control all those variables here, and it's not dependent on the construction schedule. The components that we want to run basically 2 simultaneous schedules on. We're going to run our fabrication schedule, and we're going to start working on these portions of the project. And then that's going to track alongside of the construction schedule, and they will work hand in hand with each other because we've got to make sure that we have these components ready to go so that the day the trade in front of us walks out and our guys walk into the room, everything that they need is there and waiting for them. Their amount of time that they're spending on site is cut in half or more sometimes, depending on what the task is. Even if it's something that has to be customized in the field, we will go as far as we can with it here. Putting the components together, grouping them together in a way that eliminates steps on site. Yeah. Construction schedule on site is intermingling with dozens of other trades, the weather, supply chain, inspections. All of these other factors are impacting that construction schedule, which is why we want to be able to maintain our prefab schedule separately, because our prefab schedule isn't impacted by all of those things. That's really the most important thing to most of our customers is the predictability of it, because they have a dozen other trades that they have to schedule coming in behind us. Their job is to coordinate this delicate balance of 20 different companies, hundreds of different people, and try and coordinate them all like an orchestra into one smooth flowing production.
Are you guys the favorite of the group?
Of course we are. How could we not be? Yes, absolutely. Like, I feel very confident that with good reason. When we give good information to the customer for scheduling, for example, when we can tell them this is how long we need in this area of the building, and you can schedule your drywallers right behind that, and then you can schedule your painters right behind that, and then you can schedule your trim carpenters right behind that. That makes their lives much easier.
And are you getting feedback on a regular basis that they're really, really feeling impacted?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it keeps everything moving. And unfortunately, a lot of people are used to getting delays. They're used to getting, I know we told you we were going to be done at this time. Stuff happened and we couldn't, and that's what people have gotten used to expecting, even with the supply chain, especially. I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to get material for 3 years because life happens.
And you feel confident that more times than not, you're saying you're just hitting the mark, what you thought you were going to do.
Yeah, absolutely. That's everything that we're trying to do here. We're like the Amazon Prime of construction installation. That's our primary mission, is to be able to, not just for our customers, but for our guys in the field as well. Like when our guys have something come up, and again, it's a lot about managing the unpredictability, but something changed with one of the other trades and they've got to hurry up and try and get this portion of the project done, and all of their manpower right now is devoted to something else. They can pick up the phone, send an email, send us that information, and we can start working on that thing for them to get them that jump start on it, so then they can still land on their feet and get the thing done that they weren't expecting to have to do.
So you're saying that when they run into other trouble with other trades, your processes actually helps them catch up.
Absolutely. It's like having the National Guard on call when there's an emergency. You have a team of people on standby that you can rely on to get it done for you. So if it's, you need things cut, you need things assembled, you need things put together, you need things wired, those guys are able to pick up the phone and have us start working on it that minute. That's much easier than even them having to call the project manager and say, hey, this thing changed on the schedule. I need to get some extra help in here. Can you shift some guys around? And then the project managers have to work overtime to try and, okay, what pieces can I shift? What pieces can I move around to try and get this done? Whereas we're just a phone call away. We have, an entire shop set up, our materials here or readily available when we need it. And so when those kind of things come up, we can be on it as soon as it happens and turn it right back around and have it back out to the site much faster than they could bring in extra manpower to get it done. So that's one of the other advantages to having this system up and going, is we're able to juggle a lot of balls at the same time. That's one of the services that we are trying to provide to our customers, is a reduction in headaches.